Hi, welcome back. It's episode 25 of Culture Watch Radio. I'm Andrew Smith, and with me is Bill Muehlenberg. Bill, this corona thing, it's been going on for quite a while now. We've hopefully flattened the curve. That's what they promised. What does it take to wake people up?
Yes, well, a lot of things can be said. What they originally say, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. It's been over 15 months now. So in terms of waking people up, a lot of things we can say. The first is the governments have not done a very good job of this. In fact, they've been probably making matters worse, taking a flu-like situation and turning it into a massive worldwide panic with all the lockdowns and everything else going with it, probably causing a whole lot more damage than the virus itself. In fact, that is the focus of a number of studies coming out now, very important studies showing that all the overreaction, the lockdowns and so on, restrictions have actually, with all the collateral damage, are doing more harm. And in fact, the experts are saying we'll have to probably wait 5-10 years to see the real harm done by all these draconian lockdowns.
But Bill, they keep on saying that this is for our own good.
Yes. Well, yeah, we got to save grandma. That's right. Anything it takes to save just one life. Well, first of all, we're losing plenty of lives through, as I say, all the collateral damage, the mental health problems and the suicides that are going with it, the busted businesses, the ruined lives, small business especially, damaged economies that may never recover. There's plenty of lives being lost here. And if our mantra is, well, if it saves just one life, we have to do it. Well, we're even finding the supposed miracle solutions, the various vaccines that seem to have been somewhat rushed through. We know that some people are suffering real negative side effects from that, including death. So if our belief is if one life is lost, we have to radically change course, well, the government would be saying that even about the vaccines. So look, it's politics. It's about control. I've said this from day one. Statists love a crisis. They'll either milk it for all it's worth, or they'll invent a whole new crisis just to get more power and control, take away freedoms from individual citizens. And sadly, a lot of the masses seem to be going along with it.
Milky it certainly is the term. I mean, this is a clip from Chris Kenny on Sky News this week where he'd actually turned up to the press conference because, quite frankly, the rest of the media aren't doing it properly. They're just taking whatever comes out through the teat. And he actually challenged the South Australian Chief Public Health Officer, Professor Nicholas Spurrier, on what she was saying. Have a listen to this.
And she got cranky today when somebody looked her in the eye and started calling BS on this nutty professor.
Because of the very mild health threat the disease poses to anyone outside those vulnerable groups.
Look, I really just find it quite surprising to be at a press conference and have somebody suggest that there are very minor consequences to COVID-19. We still have many people dying around the world, and we've also had 4 deaths here in Australia.
You know, there's not been one community transmission that's led to death in this country all year.
I am here to provide information to the South Australian public.
And your job is simply to record it.
Yeah. You know, Bill, you'd think these professor types would be on top of everything.
Well, you'd like to think so. And yes, I did see those clips, both on the Chris Kenny show and Paul Murray, who was there as well in that clip. Sky News has been, as you say, one of the few to send out actual real journalists doing real journalistic jobs, holding these guys to account, whether it was Peter Credlin and others from Sky News trying to hold Dan Andrews and Brett Sutton to account here in Victoria, or as you say, Chris Kenny in Adelaide. The whole thing has been a schmozzle. I mean, I'm just staggered, actually, that we take these guys seriously. We have basically unelected, unaccountable, so-called health experts who are, all the premiers and their little fiefdoms, they're saying, oh, I'm simply bowing to the evidence, what the chief medical officer is telling me. Well, not only do they disagree with one another in the various states, they often disagree with themselves. They change their tune every other week. I mean, they're making things up as they go along. One day they're telling us the Rona is deadly for 23 hours a day, right? You can only go out 1 hour a day. Then they say, well, you can have maybe 22 hours locked away. Or you can only travel 5 kilometers. Then the Rona gets deadly. Then the next day, oh, okay, you can go 10 kilometers. I mean, these guys are just playing us for fools. It's all about politics. It's about power and control. We've long ago realized this is a game. They don't really seem to care about public health and safety. If they did, they wouldn't be going with these draconian lockdowns. And obviously for them, it's just about pushing their own agenda, being in front of the cameras every day. It's their own little ego trips, but they're certainly not looking after the welfare of Australians. So well done to people like Chris Kenny.
Yeah. At least we didn't have the double and triple masking that Dr. Fauci in the USA came out with.
Yes, oh, look, things have been just as bad in America with the so-called experts. And yeah, Fauci has been getting a lot of heat as well for his connections with the Wuhan lab and all of his inconsistencies, changing his tune every other week. So this is seems par for the course for all these so-called experts. They're not running on evidence-based medicine. They're not running with the data. In fact, many of them have no data. They're just making it up. As one American expert, I think from Harvard, said the other day, he did a study, actually. He looked in the literature. There was not one scientific report anywhere prior to last year that ever recommended lockdowns as a means of dealing with these kind of viruses. Not one. And yet everybody, plus their uncle, today seems to be running with lockdowns. In fact, as we speak, a full half of Australia's 25 million people are in lockdown. And for what? A handful of cases, a few cases, and half the country is in lockdown. Not based on science, not based on evidence, but based on power-hungry premiers and others who just can't think straight.
Yeah, it's certainly a weird thing that you would go quarantining the healthy. I mean, that's the opposite of what you do.
Yeah. Well, that's right. It should be a proportional, it should be a limited, specific response. Who are the ones who are most at risk? We know it's the elderly, young people, young adults, children, hardly at all. Certainly no problems with death. Hardly anybody in that younger age cohort is dying or even having serious responses. So yeah, you actually target the real at-risk population, certainly over 70 group. That's the one you should aim for. You have proportionality. Even Bajikian in New South Wales was doing well here with this. She would, do very localized containment and quarantine. But now, sadly, it seems she's drunk the Kool-Aid as well. So now she's joining all the other premiers, locking down entire cities, entire states, again, for a handful of cases. So the healthy are being treated just like the sick. And as the experts also are telling us, probably for every one person tested with the virus, there's probably at least another 10 people who also have it, most of them asymptomatic. The point is, this is a fairly common thing, so our stats are skewed anyway.
And of course, Bill, what enables this is a lazy media who have been so fed on a diet of press releases that don't even challenge things. And there's so much, there must be so much that doesn't even get discovered and brought to the surface because they're not even actively thinking. How do we get ourselves out of this situation?
Yeah, well, you're quite right about the mainstream media, certainly, which is really in bed with most of these leftist governments, certainly with Andrews and Palaszczuk and so on. They cover for them. They make excuses for them. They basically do their bidding. So if Dan Andrews comes on and pontificates about how we all need to be locked down from here to eternity, if he talks about extending emergency powers permanently, which is he's actually now doing, the media will happily just go along with it. So yeah, we need the alternative media, of what Sky News is a clear case in point, and hopefully our humble podcasts here are another example. We need to hold these politicians and so-called health experts to account. We need to keep them honest. I don't think they have been honest with us. As you say, the media by and large is not taking it up to them. They're just getting a free run, a free pass. So we at least will certainly keep asking the hard questions, and that's incumbent on all of us. There is no perfect politician, obviously. There's no foolproof scientist. There's no omniscient health officer. Everybody has got issues, and often they're pushing agendas. That's quite clear. Often they're beholden to special interests, financial gain, and so on. So unless we hold them to account, ask the hard questions, as Chris Kenny just did or Peter Credlin has done, they're going to get away with murder. So all of us need to do our bit. Keep asking questions. Keep, being strong and not letting the narrative run roughshod over all of us.
And, when the mainstream media are all reporting in lockstep, that's a pretty good sign that it's about as good as propaganda, or is propaganda, that we're effectively being fed as news.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, a good test of truth is simply, right, if YouTube bans it, if Twitter pulls it, if the media won't cover it, if bookstores won't sell it, that's probably a good indication that you have been speaking truth.
Yeah. Long live the alternative media. And as always, more information is available at Culture Watch. And we'll see you again next week with another episode of Culture Watch Radio.